All right. I know it's snowing a little bit out there here in Denver. It's certainly much colder than it was this time yesterday, but if you're looking for some measurable snowfall, at least here in Denver, you're going to have to hold your breath for a little while longer. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks for joining us for a detailed look at your Colorado weather forecast, which is going to feature a lot more in the way of sunshine and warmer temperatures. But for the moment, if you like, I'll admit, I'm one of these people. I love cloudy weather. Great for running. Kind of makes you feel a little bit cozy inside, right? Today's one of those nice cozy days for us here in the Denver area. We've seen a few flakes flying across the skies of Denver, but those snowflakes, at least here in town, anything below 6,000 feet, which is most of the metro area, I would term these pathetic snowflakes because it's just maybe a few flakes here and there. We're getting excited. Maybe it'll actually finally snow. At least not here in Denver. Now, where we need the snow, we're getting some. That would be in the mountains. But then that winds on down later on today, and then Thanksgiving and the upcoming weekend, and next week, and perhaps the week after that, it's going to stay sunny. It's going to stay way warmer than average, and it's almost going to feel like early October, maybe even late September, as we head through the remainder of the week and into next week as well. Now, snowfall, got some of that along the Palmer Divide and as well as into the foothills west of Denver. Now, again, you get to 6,500, 7,000 feet or above. That's where it's sticking a little bit. Again, you're talking Golden, Evergreen, far kind of southeast Aurora, Palmer Divide, certainly as you get on up into Larkspur Monument. That's where the snow is sticking. Even Castle Rock, I wouldn't be surprised for our friends out there if you see a little bit in the way of some snow. Now, here in Denver, we'll have flakes around all day long. It's going to kind of look a little bit wintry, but it's not really going to stick, at least here in Denver. It's just way too dry at the surface. So what we've got a whole lot of here, this is the radar picking up some of these rain bands, some of these snow bands. What the radar's picking up here, the beams go up into the sky and it sees that it's snowing. But once that rain or snow reaches the ground, there's maybe a few flakes left over because it's so dry at the surface. Remember the last few days, it was kind of chapstick weather, right? It was so dry yesterday and the day before. We had high fire danger. That same dry air mass is still in place at the surface, so it's evaporating a lot of that rain or snow before it reaches the ground. So long story short, here in Denver, we're just getting a few leftover flakes. It's also a bit too warm here in Denver. We're in the upper 30s, low 40s, generally speaking, around the metro area. So 42 in Denver, and it's not going to do it in terms of getting snow to actually stick. Look at that for our friends in southeastern Colorado, Lamar, Springfield, mid-50s for you, even Pueblo at 50 right now. Again, way too warm for most of us to be talking about measurable snowfall, at least from I-25 on east. Now, the good news is, and maybe I've overlooked this a little bit right now, is we do need the snow in the mountains, and we are getting snow in the mountains. So that is great news. Taking a look this morning, a place like Crested Butte, some of the ski resorts like Crested Butte, Aspen Snowmass, Telluride, Purgatory, southern, central Colorado, even Steamboat Springs getting 3-4 inches worth of snowfall. Now, it's not the big storm that we frankly need in the mountains. We're lagging on snowpack. We're only about 60% of our season-to-date snowpack in the mountains. But, 3-4 inches, hey, that'll put a little dent in some of those snowpack figures. We will take it. So Mother Nature, if you watch it, keep that coming, and we'll see a bit more of that snow as we head through the next few hours. The wet mountains, the Saguaro Cristos, as well as on north and west into the West Elks. A little bit more snow as we head through the remainder of your day. Not a big deal, at least for in terms of the snowpack numbers for us here, but we'll take it here into southern Colorado. Denver, the snow clears on out, any flakes clearing out this evening, and then we'll be waking up to sunny skies, cold morning for your Thanksgiving. Denver, as I mentioned, it's going to be kind of on again, off again, flaking throughout the day here in Denver. You get on up again, 6,500, 7,000 feet or above, Evergreen, West Golden, Northwest Arvada, those areas, Highlands Ranch, Lone Tree, Castle Rock. It's kind of south here of probably right around the Arapahoe-Douglas County line on south is where you've got the chance for seeing a little dusting, maybe 2/10 of an inch of snow on your car tops, on those grassy surfaces. That's pretty much it. Here in Denver, again, I've been calling it pathetic snow all day, and no offense, snowflakes, if you're watching, but it's pathetic. That's all I gotta say. It's just a few flakes. It still isn't snowed here in Denver, at least officially. I'll get more on that here in just a second. But again, in terms of those snowfall amounts here in Denver, 0.0. What I mean by that, it's a little bit complicated, right? You're probably looking outside in a lot of cases and you're seeing a few flakes flying. And you might be asking, Well, it snowed technically, right? Well, technically, no. So in order for snow to officially count, for us to say it snowed in Denver, you need at least 1/10 of an inch of snow or more. That means it has to accumulate. That means it has to stick to something, right? If you just see a few flakes and it just kind of melts as it hits your windshield or as soon as it hits the pavement, that doesn't officially count as it having snowed. What does count is if, again, it sticks just a little bit. As I mentioned, here in Denver, it's too warm, it's too dry, there's not enough moisture. Very, very low odds that here in Denver we see any sort of measurable snowfall. Where it is a little bit more moist, a little colder, and also a little less dry at the surface, the Palmer Divide, the foothills, and that's where, again, you could just see a little dusting on the car tops. That does count, by the way. If you get that little dusting in Castle Rock, yeah, that does count. But here in Denver, just a few flakes. Notice our low tonight, it's 33. It's too warm even once we get into tonight for it to really stick. So early flakes possible, but that'll pretty much do it for us here in Denver. Those skies clearing up in time for your Thanksgiving morning. Now, I've kind of mentioned, I know a lot of us are wanting the snow at this point, myself included. It hasn't snowed yet. Obviously, it's already our latest first measurable snowfall on record, and we're going to smash that record here, folks. But as we get into Thanksgiving, the good news is we've got a very, very nice Thanksgiving on tap for us. In fact, it's right around, I would call it borderline in terms of having those temperatures warm enough to have that Thanksgiving meal outside, but it's a little subjective here. If you're asking me, I, in fact, sent the text to my girlfriend this morning saying I think we should have our Thanksgiving meal outside because we're going to have it at 2 o'clock. If you have it at 2 or 3 o'clock, you got the sunshine, you got those temperatures in the mid-50s. It probably feels warm enough for you to have it outdoors. Now, of course, it depends on your tolerance for cold. Mid-50s is pretty borderline, I'd admit. But one other thing to watch for, that wind won't be all that strong. In fact, that wind probably lessens a little bit, at least here in Denver as we head through the day. So you're not going to be talking about, I don't know, napkins flying all over the place or cups getting knocked over. Nothing like that. It's just going to be a little bit breezy maybe at times, but I think it should be nice enough to have your Thanksgiving meal outside. That would be my 2 cents on it. Again, I'll leave it up to you, but I sent out the text myself saying I think we should do it. Meantime, as we get into tomorrow, there's a look at that hour-by-hour forecast. Again, also it kind of depends on what time you're having it. Remember, the sun sets now at like 4:30, so when we're talking about that 4:30 sunset, if you've got a 4 o'clock meal, you probably want to have it inside, right? Because once that sun goes down, those temperatures drop really quickly. You don't have the warming power of the sun. It'll feel a lot colder. You might maybe have a bonfire or something like that outside, but or I don't know, one of those gas fire pits, something like that. But again, probably don't want to have that Thanksgiving meal outside. All right, temperatures as we get into the weekend. Well, if you think it's a little chilly on your Thanksgiving, try Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as we get those temperatures back up into the mid-60s. And by the way, I got my handy-dandy phone out here just to see if we got any comments or questions about that forecast. So feel free to write those if you're joining us here on Facebook. I will try and answer those questions if you've got them about your Thanksgiving forecast or anything about that forecast because, well, the story at this point will be, of course, those warm temperatures. Doesn't look like I got any questions at this point, so I'll leave you with a final look here at that 7-day forecast. Again, don't worry about the snow today. It's not a big deal, at least here in Denver and really throughout most of the metro area. Then we get those temperatures back up to the mid-60s, and folks, we're going to go into the month of December. December starts next Wednesday, and we're going to continue into the month of December without any measurable snowfall here in Denver. How about that? Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Watch. Have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy, I suppose, those few flakes that we got today.